Looking for real stories that lift you up and light a fire inside? Welcome to Inspire and Impact, the podcast where purpose meets perseverance. This is where transformation begins and your story continues.
Welcome to the Inspire and Impact podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Rosenstein. The show features real conversations with thought leaders, healers, entrepreneurs, and creatives who share journeys of growth, purpose, and making a meaningful impact. Today, I have the honor of interviewing Trish Springsteen. Trish, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Hi, Daniel. Absolutely delighted to be here.
So can you share a little bit about your background, Trish?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Trish Springsteen. I'm a speaker mentor, a get known, be seen specialist. My passion is helping people to have the confidence and self-belief to step up and speak about their message, to own their uniqueness and be the unicorn in their business. I've been doing this for about 20 years. Not only do I do speaker mentoring, but I'm also an inspirational speaker and MC, and I'm the author, co-author, contributing author of 22 books. So my passion is all about helping you to say, here I am, this is what I do.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, you have a very impressive background. I mean, not only have you been doing this for many years, I know I've doing some research about you before the show, and I saw that you won numerous awards for your speaking and your inspiration. So congratulations on all these merits that you received.
Thank you. I mean, that's one of the things I never knew I could do. And one of the things that I was like, like most people, you think, don't enter awards, don't put your hand up for things like that, because if people find out who you are, they might not like you. All of that is imposter syndrome. And honestly, people, if you've got a business, a book, a message, and you're an advocate, you need to be seen. You need to stand up, because the people who need what you've got need to find you. So entering awards is third-party credibility, and it's a great way of just testing your business, testing what you're doing, and then it doesn't matter whether you get nominated, whether you make a finalist, or whether you win. You shout that out to everybody because it adds credibility. It means someone else has looked at what you're doing and thinks that you're doing fantastic. So that's what you do. So it's been my honor to win a few of my awards.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations again. I want to ask you, so you've come a long way from it's like behind pot plants to speaking on international stages. Can you maybe share with us like what sparked this transformation?
Look, way back in the Jurassic period, I say, because it's a long time ago for me. If you spoke to anybody who knew me then, and then you said to them, well, look, this is what Trish is doing now, they would probably roll around on the floor laughing, because I was an introvert. I'm still an introvert, but I was extremely shy. And when I left high school, there was nothing on the horizon to say that I would have my own business, that I would be the author of so many books, that I have had the opportunity to speak on numerous stages. But more importantly, I've had the opportunity to work with so many people to help them shine. That was not something that I ever thought I would. And I guess when I sit back and think about it, and someone asked me on an interview recently about, how have I done things, or because I was talking about the power of saying yes. And I said, well, what happened really when I think about it was about 30 years ago. I said yes to walking through a door into a room that I thought was just going to be a nice little meeting that would help me make some friends, because I'd moved from one city to the other of my family. We'd been so busy working, I hadn't made any friends. And here, I'm introvert, shy, not easy. And a friend suggested, just go to this meeting. They're friendly. You can make friends. Well, I said yes, and I walked through that door. And I guess that could be what you might say the catalyst in bringing me to where I am now. Because that door was a door into a Toastmasters meeting. It was a door that a room full of people that wanted you to speak. Now, I nearly walked out of that, because that wasn't what I was looking for. And hey, excuse me, shy introvert, no way was I getting up and speaking. I just wanted to make friends. 30 years rolling forward, I'm still in that club because I'd like to give back. But what I ended up from there was finding a group of people that supported me, opening doors to thoughts that I never even had considered. I never considered being a speaker, never considered being a trainer, let alone everything else that's come from there. So that group of people helped to support me, for me to find out that I had stories. I had a belief in myself. Then I opened our own business with my then business partner, and we found we loved training. We did a lot of corporate training, a lot of speaking and mentoring, and roll forward, as in any business, you don't stay stagnant in business. Things change. And our business changed, it morphed. Eventually, I'm to where I am now, where I am the sole owner. My business partner and I parted amicably because things changed. And it wasn't until about 6 years. I had written my first book not long after we opened our business, because book with credibility. We were told to write one. I'm extremely lazy. And so is my business partner then. Our first book was what I call our book of blogs. We weren't going to reinvent the wheel. We just took the blogs that we'd been sending up and writing for a year, took our favourite ones, changed the titles, tweaked them a little bit, and there was our first book in 30 days. So people, there are numerous ways to write your book. Fast forward, I was asked to contribute a chapter to a book in America. Remember, people, I just thought I was a speaker and a speaker mentor, and, writing was not something that I had considered to be high on my list. I'd done my book. I thought I'd tick that little box off. But I thought, well, I will contribute the chapter because, hey, I'm all about asking people to step outside their comfort zone. I'm all about asking people to stand up and shine. So I thought, you better do it because you're asking people to do it. And I thought, it won't matter. The book's in America. If your writing is absolutely crap and no one likes it, no one's going to know in Australia. Big mistake, Daniel. When you write something, it goes right around the world, more than you think. So it ended up being that people liked what I did. So from then to here, I've now written, as I said, up to 22 books. And I discovered writing was just another way for me to speak. It was a way for me to channel what my thoughts are. Whenever I get up to speak or to write or to train or even to be a guest on a podcast like yours, and I have nerves, people. Just because I've been speaking and training for over 30 years doesn't mean to say I don't get just as nervous as the next person. And one of the things that I use is the fact that if one person, just one person, hears something I have to say on a podcast, reads a chapter in a book, or reads some lines in a chapter that I've contributed, even hears me speak, whether it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or a longer speaking engagement, if one person takes something away from that has changed their lives at that particular moment because they had to hear what I had to say or write, then it's not about me. It's all about them. And I have achieved my purpose in helping to help people have that confidence to do what they need to do and to share their purpose. So that helps me get through my nerves. And that's probably why I am where I am now, because it's never about me. It's always about the person that I might be able to reach. And when you think about that, it really changes your outlook. And if you're nervous, anybody who's listening to this, watching to this, anybody who's nervous and thinks, oh, I can't do that, I shouldn't be able to do it, no one's going to listen to me, I say to you, don't be selfish, people. That's a selfish thought. Don't be selfish. It's not about you. It's about the person that needs to hear your message that you started your business for, or the message you wrote that book for, or the message that you're standing up and advocating. It's not about you, it's about them. And that's sort of why I'm here where I am now, and why I'm still on my journey. And the journey never stops. And it's the power of saying yes. I said yes to walking through a door, and that yes has brought me to where I am now. All sorts of things that have happened on that journey.
Can you maybe explain to the audience of people who don't know what Toastmasters is, what is Toastmasters? And also, can I ask you, as a shy person, what made you decide to attend a Toastmasters meeting to make friends? I mean, what was the logic behind that as like a good place for a shy person to meet friends?
Well, firstly, I was conned into the meeting, basically. Because I had a friend. Well, I had an acquaintance. I love 10-pin bowling. And I was bowling in a team with this acquaintance, and I was moaning one day, saying, oh, God, we've been so busy. We haven't been able to make, we moved up from Canberra. We're now in Brisbane. And, I've got 2 kids. I've been busy working. I've been studying. And we just don't know anybody because we left all our family behind. So he just said to me, I know this meeting. He did not tell me what it was, Daniel. He did not tell me what sort of meeting it was. He just said, hey, this place here, go in there and they're friendly people and you might get to know some people. Now, it did take me a real lot of courage to walk through that door because, hey, I am shy. I was shy, not so much. And I'm an introvert. So believe me, if that acquaintance of mine had been standing next to me when I walked into the door, found out that it was a Toastmasters meeting and found out what Toastmasters was all about, I would have probably throttled him because that wasn't what I was expecting. And the only reason I've stayed is because I have made friends. And that particular club that I walked into was a very supportive club that made me feel welcome and enticed me. Toastmasters is all about helping you to speak. It's helping you it gives you a supportive environment where you can step out and try speaking. It's a fantastic place. It gives you that opportunity and it gives you great feedback. It is my only caveat in Toastmasters is sometimes you've got to pick the right club because it's a self-learning pacing audience. So if you're not too sure if you want to join, I'd look for a good club that's got a lot of breadth of members that are going to help you and support you. But that's what they did. And I've just been in Toastmasters 30 years. It gave me that support to have a courage to say things. I mean, that first meeting, they asked me what I thought. I think I mumbled 2 words and dived out of the meeting afterwards. And why did I stay? A good question, Daniel. I don't know why. I think it was the people because they were friendly and they caught my interest. So I did go back and I went back a couple of times and I did join. And as I said, I've been there 30 years and they helped me to speak. They helped me to find my courage and mentored me. They gave me leadership opportunities. I rose and did leadership of a whole district, which was 364 clubs and a lot of people, 3,000 people. Nothing that I would have thought. And they allowed me to meet some people that were like-minded people. And we opened our business. One of my people I met, we decided to open our business in 2006. So it's why I say the power of saying yes to things, the power of taking what I call 60 seconds of insane courage. When someone says, would you like to come and do something? Would you like to go and visit this? Would you like to try and go and be a guest or stand up and speak or share your message? I say 60 seconds of insane courage, people. 20 seconds to acknowledge that the first thing you're probably going to say is, no, I can't do it. And that is the fear of speaking. That is the little negative voices saying you can't. So 20 seconds to say, stop. Yes, I can. There's a reason they've asked me because I have a message, I have expertise, I have experience, they want to hear me. And then 20 seconds to smile. Just smile because it's a fantastic thing. When you smile, everybody smiles. And then say yes and go and do it. Just go and do it because you never know what doors have opened. That yes has allowed me to grow in my own personal development. It has allowed me to get leadership skills. It allowed me to start my business. It has allowed me to cope with several crises in my life because it gave me that confidence to know what to do. I will share in 2007, we lost our son Craig to suicide. That's something I don't wish on anybody. And one of the things that my speaking skills helped me with was I had to do the eulogy at his funeral. You only get one chance at that, Daniel. You don't get another chance to do something to honor someone's life. So I was able to do that, to harness my emotions to do that. It's something I'm very thankful for because I was able to do testament to his life. So it's allowed me to do things like that, to cope with other crisis situations. It's allowed me to write my books, to realize that I had a story. It's allowed me to believe in myself. And ultimately, just this year, it's allowed me to go to the Oscars gifting lounge, to meet celebrities, to meet all sorts of people, to speak about one of the books that I contributed a chapter to have be able to succeed of a gauntlet of media interviews. And I'm in a gauntlet of media interviews, more than 10 people interviewing you 1 minute at a time. No second chances on that. You need to be able to be there in the moment. All of that has come from saying yes to entering a door. So people, when you are given opportunities, you never know what's going to come. I never expected any of that. All I was going to do was go in and make some friends. Amazing things come from saying yes. Amazing things come from taking a deep breath and saying, okay, I'm going to do it. And that's basically where my journey has been. Each time now I say a yes. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. And that's okay. But I tried it and I learned. I've had a business before I even went through that door. Way ago. It was a business that I just started with no concept of business or anything, and it didn't work. It failed. One of the reasons why I thought I was never going to open a business again. But I did, because I went through a door, I met people, I grew to understand who I was, I believed in myself, and I said yes to starting another business. And here I am. You never know. The journey's fantastic.
Can I ask you, like, what limiting beliefs did you used to have, like when you used to be really shy, like before you joined Toastmasters? And like, how did you overcome those like limiting beliefs?
Well, one of the things I say to my mentoring clients and the people I work with, limiting beliefs and fear often come down to a couple of things. And everybody has limiting beliefs. Everybody has fears of different sorts. They're all out there, and they're all real to that person, and they can stop you. And that's such a tragedy, because if you work through them, absolutely fantastic things come. So one of the things is own your limiting belief, own your fear. Do a deep dive. What really is it that's stopping you? Sometimes it's a surface thing that you think that's what's stopping me. But when you deep dive, you find it's either a lack of knowledge, a lack of belief in yourself, and that is probably one of the big things. You've had an experience that has left you thinking, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to go and work in that job again, or I'm never going to get up and speak again. I'm never going to start a business again, because you've had that experience, or you've seen someone else have a bad experience. When you do a deep dive into yourself and you sit back and you really find out who you are, find out what it is that's limiting and why. What is the fear? What is the thing that stopped you? And then you own it. You think, okay, now I know. And then you work. How can I work through that? How can I make it work for me? You can make your fear, your limiting belief work for you, because what it will do is challenge you to step outside of that. Challenge you to find a mentor, to find some people to help you, to find your inner growth. Believe me, people, it took me a long time to believe in myself. Even after I walked through that door, it took me ages to think that I had a message. It took me absolute ages to understand that I had stories to share. Because my limiting belief was that I had nothing like that. I was just me, an ordinary person zooming through life like every other person. When people talk to me about inspirational people who stood up and others followed, it was people who'd been, lost all their money and got it all back again, or people who'd been through deep tragedies and climbed out of that. That wasn't me. So I thought to people, I don't have stories. I don't have anything like that. And it took me a long while to understand that every person in this world, you, Daniel, everybody listening or watching to this, you all have stories, because you all live a life. And it doesn't matter if those stories aren't momentous stories. In fact, and I'm probably going to be controversial about that, momentous stories don't always connect with everybody. We sit there and we're in awe with those momentous stories, but we think, well, that's not us. I'm really fantastic about them. But it's the little stories that people start to share that connect with most people, because they can stop and think, oh, that is me. I have something similar. So don't think your stories have to be huge. In fact, the little stories are the ones that will connect most with many, many people out there, because they have little stories too. Only I don't think they're little. I think they're marvelously big, because they do connect with everybody. So that's what it took me a long time to learn to do that and to become inspirational. I had people call me inspirational, and I used to just like, no, that's just not me. It's, I just here helping you, until I was nominated for an Inspirational Woman's Award. And I can tell you that was a big aha moment for me in my journey, because I had a first reaction, my knee-jerk reaction was to say, I don't know what this person's doing, but I'm not inspirational. Because as I said to you, at that stage, I just thought inspirational people who had those huge stories. And I didn't have that. So I wasn't going to go any further with that nomination until I realized, and don't ever do this, people, because it was like 3 hours before the nomination closed. Not a good thing. You're supposed to fill it out a lot quicker than that. So about 3 hours before the nomination closed, I was umming and ahhing, and I suddenly realized that who was I to be so arrogant? Who was I to denigrate someone who took the time to nominate me? Who was I to say that they were wrong? I couldn't do that. That was wrong. That was not me. How could I say to someone, you are wrong? It wasn't right. So I thought, hey, I have to honor that someone thought I was worth at least nominating. So I entered the award. I put my nomination in with 3 hours to spare. Actually, by the time I finished, it was about half an hour to spare when I hit that button. So that's why I tell you, everybody, when you do go to be nominated and you go for an award, try and do it a little bit earlier. Do not follow my little pattern. That's not a good idea. It's not great for your stress levels. Believe me, it's not. So I did that, and I wasn't even going to go to the award ceremony because I thought there were other people I felt was so much more. But my friends talked me into it, and I did. When I won that award, I was speechless, which by that time was pretty unusual because I can actually pretty well speak underwater for a while. And the look on my face, my friends said, was amazing. And I learned from that. My learning from that was that you need to accept with gratitude when people thank you, when people say you're an inspiration. I learned to realize that I don't see myself as other people see me. And I needed to accept that. I need to realize that to denigrate someone's opinion of me when they say, thank you so much, you've helped me, you've inspired me, you've given me something. And women, and mostly women, are all too easy to say, no, it was nothing. And that just denigrates that person's opinion of you. You've got no right to do that. You need to accept that if they think that you're worthy and they say thank you to you, you need to accept that with gratitude. And I've learnt that lesson. And I realized that for me, for those people, I am an inspiration because I managed to change something for them. So I own that. I say I'm an inspirational speaker. But it took me having to go through that lesson to realize. And I say to people, every one of us has an impact on other people. We all impact people. We don't know how much that impact could be, or what that few words that said, or what you've written has said to those people. You may not know for many years. You may never know. But if someone comes to you and says, thank you, I had to hear what you said, or thank you for writing those words in that book, I needed to hear them at that time. Don't do your knee-jerk reaction, say, oh, it was nothing, or back off. Just say, thank you, accept with gratitude. I'm glad that was something I could give you at that particular time. So that's how my journey, that's where I have come, and how I've overcome my limiting beliefs. People who've supported me, people who've mentored me, learning to believe in myself and that I have those stories, and learning to accept with gratitude when someone says to you, you were fantastic. So now I have no problems in saying, I'm freaking awesome, people. I love what I do. I'm awesome, and I own it.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It's really remarkable. I think you are very inspirational. That's why I was so excited for you to come on the podcast. So.
Oh, I just love sharing. I love to be able to have that opportunity. I really, really appreciate it, Daniel, because it means that I can share my story that other people can then realize they've got stories too.
Definitely. Can I ask you, what is the phrase, I believe in you until you believe in yourself, mean to you?
That is a foundation of what I do. Because it wasn't until I had people who believed in me that I actually started to believe in myself. I absolutely believe that when you own who you are, when you believe in who you are, and that means knowing deep down, delving deep into who you are, knowing what you're good at and accepting that you're good at great things. Everybody's good at something, many things, and understanding that there may be some things that I'm not so good, and that is okay. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be good at everything. But when you know what you're not, then you are owning who you are, warts and all. And my solid belief that is a complete foundation. When you can believe in yourself and own it and can stand up and say, I'm awesome. And you're not bragging. You're not big noting yourself. You're just saying, I know who I am. I know what I'm great at. I know what I'm not so good at and I might need help with, or I need other people to fill in those holes. But I am awesome. I have a place. I am unique. And my uniqueness allows me to be solidly where I am in this world, in what I'm doing at this particular time. That is a solid rock foundation. We all experience imposter syndrome. The statistics say the imposter syndrome is around about 75, but when you think about it, it's more likely about 85, 90% of the world at one stage or another has imposter syndrome. And that's where you have those little negative voice saying, you can't do this. You're not good enough. No one's going to listen to you. No one wants to hear you. In Australia, we have this tall poppy syndrome. Don't put your head above the crowd, because if you do, they'll pull you down. When you believe in yourself, it's very hard for imposter syndrome to stay. It may come back, but it's very easy then for you to say, hang on a minute. I know who I am. I know what I do. I know I have a message. I know I have expertise. I know I have experience. I know I have stories. Therefore, I am able to say, forget about imposter syndrome. There are people out here, even if it's one person that needs to hear what I have to say. So when I work with my mentors, say, do you know what? I'm working with them and mentoring. I say to my clients, I believe in you until you believe in yourself. And that's powerful for them, because the things someone believes in themselves starts to give them a foundation to find their own belief in them. And I do, because I know everybody out there is unique. I know you've all got something that you need to say or share in some way or form. So I believe in you until you believe in yourself. And then when you believe in yourself, wow, that is fantastic.
As an introvert, what misconceptions do you think people have about shy people?
Firstly, introvert and shy are not the same. They're two different things. Shy is mean you're really, really shy. You have a problem going in. You prefer to be by yourself. And because that's something similar to what people think introvert is, they think it's the same. Not all introverts are shy. Some have a lot more easier to overcome and work with their introvert than they do. If you're shy and an introvert, it's a little bit harder. I didn't like talking to people. I didn't like going into rooms. Introvert is an energy level from my perspective. Extrovert is an energy level. Do you know there are extroverts who can be shy as well? Not so easy, but there are. Introvert's just an energy level. It means that I prefer to get my energy by myself. When I go into groups, I can get extremely de-energized, extremely tired. I get overwhelmed because there's so much going on around me. There's so many people, and it pulls the energy away from me. So I sometimes get so overwhelmed that I sometimes leave for a few minutes and go outside or go somewhere by myself, because my energy comes renewing from me. I'm quite happy to be by myself. When I'm by myself, I am getting re-energized. I'm getting back into who I want. I get my energy levels up. When you understand being introvert and that energy levels, then you can go and be a speaker. Because a lot of people don't want to speak because it takes a lot of energy and a lot of courage to get up and speak in front of people, whether it's 5 people, 1,000 people, whether you do a podcast interview, whether you do videos, it takes a lot of energy to do that. So an introvert has to expend a lot of energy to do something like that. And so it just means I know how to harness my energy. So I can walk into rooms. I can be in groups. Sometimes there's a lot of going on. I will get overwhelmed. I will walk out and I will go find a little space and I'll just be by myself for about 5-10 minutes. And I think, okay, I'm fine to go back in. Extroverts have so much energy. They have a different problem. As an extrovert, they give. They have so much energy, they overwhelm people with their energy. Put an extrovert by themselves and say, go be in the room by yourself for a while. They'll just go like, I can't do that, because there's nothing to bring their energy, to bounce their energy off. So extroverts love groups because that energy goes out, it comes back, and that's what they want to be. When they're speaking, I have to work with extroverts. I do work with extroverts as well. I've got to work with them to say, pull that energy back a bit. Pull it back a bit, because you overwhelm people. And a lot of extroverts, when they're speaking, have so much that they want to say that they just want to give it all at once. And so I have to work with them to bring the structure in, bring it in a little bit, just reduce what you've got to say. Because if you dump everything on everybody, you're going to overwhelm them. Introverts actually make great speakers because they know that I only want to get up there for a period of time. I've got to get this through. I want to get this through. I want to get this right. They give it all out. They give out what they can, and then they go. Extroverts overwhelm. So each of us has things that we're great at. Each of us has things we're not so great at. And labels, I don't like labels much. But for me, when I say introvert versus shy, shy is a completely different thing. Introverts are about energy. Extroverts are about energy. So I just know how to harness my energy when I need to use it in the right way.
So like you said, like you help people like develop their speaking abilities and overcoming their fears. What's like the first step, like, you use to help them like build a self-confidence in being a better speaker?
The first thing is to, when I'm working with my mentoring clients, when I'm working with speaking clients, and no matter what level you are, because you can always do something and always enhance your skills at any level. But those who are first starting out, I like to sit and talk with them and say, look, what is it that's stopping you? And it's like I said, let's have a deep delve. Then I want to go talk to them to say, well, why do you, what message do you have? What is it? Did you start a business for a reason? Are you an advocate? Have you written your book? And we look at that and I say, well, you've done all this. Why don't you share it? And then I challenge them not to be selfish. And when I get people to understand it's not about them, that really helps them to break through some of their fear. And then we work on techniques and strategies. And one of the things I say to people, you don't have to be perfect. You really don't. People come to me and say, I want to be a great speaker. I want to be a speaker just like that person because I've got a message and I need to do something. I've got to get it out there. So I want to be just like them. And that's about where I shock them, because I say, no, you don't. And no, you can't. Because you can't be like that great speaker that you've seen, because you are not them. I just say you need to be you, only more you. So we work on you, on believing in you, on understanding the things that you're really good at, because everybody has got something that they can bring to their speaking journey. You may be a natural humorist. You may be a natural comedian. You may be great at organizing speeches. You may be good at storytelling. Everyone has something that they can bring. So we work on enhancing that. And then we look at the things that they're maybe not so good at. They might not be good at stage presence. They might not be good at body language, voice, their eye contact. They might not be good at being able to put a structure together, not knowing how to put that together or how to sell with passion. And those are things that we work on. And what I say is, I've been interviewing people on podcasts. I had my own podcast for about 2 years. I have a Get No Be Seen web TV. I interview guests. And I used to ask all of them, and I do now, what makes a speaker memorable to you? And it's not the polish. It's not the structure. The first thing they come up with is they were genuine and authentic, and they let me see who they were. And that's what I work with my clients, because that's why I say we are all unique. And if you've got a passion, a story, a business, a book, whatever it is, you need to come out from behind the masks that we wear, because we all wear masks. Those masks help us get through life sometimes. But if you want to be able to connect with people, you come out from behind that mask and you speak from the heart. You speak from the heart. You let yourself share what you're doing, be genuine. And so people don't mind if you make mistakes. If for some reason you don't get structure quite right, or you are a little bit stiff, if you speak from the heart, that's going to get you there. Yes, the rest will give you the polish, because it means that it'll be easier for you to get your message across. And you need to have that. You need to have those things. But if you have the polish without being genuine, without opening up your heart, it's not going to work. It just comes across plastic. So having the courage to open your heart and share your message from there, and being genuine and authentic, and I know those words get thrown around a lot, but they are true. That will get you to be able to connect with your audiences, whichever, on a podcast, on a stage, on a video, through your words in your book. That's what people are looking for. And that's why we shouldn't be afraid of AI. There's a lot of people out there talking about AI at the moment. And really, people just want to connect with the real you. AI, from my perspective, is just another tool. It's a tool like, my slides when I use that, when I sit up there with PowerPoint, that's a tool. Because you often hear people say, oh, death by PowerPoint. That's because I let PowerPoint rule. When you do PowerPoint, as I work with my clients, it is a tool that you use to enhance your message. It's always about you. It brings the focus back to you. AI is the same. It's a great tool to help you to craft what you want, to use your words and put them in different ways, to find other ways. But the focus is you. It's always you. And that's where being authentic and genuine is what people are looking for.
Can you maybe share with us maybe like one or two stories of like some of your clients' transformations you helped them achieve?
Yes, I've got a couple. And this is a couple that age is not a barrier to you moving forward and changing. I'll share a couple. One, it was a client of mine. She was in her 70s when I started working with her, 70s. She had written a book, and she wanted to take that book and do workshops and be able to work with people and to speak about her book. And she was great at what she did. She actually was a Feldenkrais practitioner, which is another form of helping people with muscles and working with them. And she wanted to be able to share that, but she didn't know how to do it. And I worked with her for 12 months. We worked on her being able to have that confidence, that self-belief, being able to take what her book was and turning it into workshops. And one of the great things was she was also a singer, and she was able to then bring that singing into her workshops. And I was so pleased. She's still a person who will recommend me to everybody. And I think that's the greatest thing for me, to feel that she was able to go out there. She started her own workshop. She started her own business. And she had that confidence. And when I get a recommendation from her, I was so glad that I had achieved and helped her to achieve her absolute, what she wanted, her dream. And being able to help people turn their dreams into reality, that is just so humbling. So that was one that I've worked with. I've worked with so many. There's one that I also worked with, and this is to say that you don't know the seeds that you plant. I'd spoken and did a workshop for about 12, 18 months. And then this lady came to me and said, I saw you speak and I saw you do your workshop 18 months ago. Oh, 18 months ago. And she said, I said then that I wanted to work with you, but I wasn't ready. And you planted the seed in me for what I wanted to do. And she's come with me and we worked with her. And I've seen her speak about her book. I've seen her journey. She's morphed and changed her journey. She explores things. Not everything's worked well with her, but I was able to work with her to enhance her speaking skills, know that she had to get out on social media. And her journey's been fabulous to go from there to where she is now. Those are just a couple of people. And there are people I know that I've helped who just have seen heard me speak and who've come to me, and I haven't even had them as a client, but they've said, Trish, I listened to what you said, and it's helped me change what I wanted to do right now. And now my life is going different. My business has taken off. So those are even the better ones, the hidden ones. I mean, yes, I do want clients. I mean, I love to have clients, but even to know that I've worked and helped people without that. But those are some of the stories that I've been able to share. And I've worked with a CEO of a charity. She funds a charity. It's a fantastic charity. It's for carers. Those people look after people and then they don't get looked after themselves. And she gets no funding and that, but she gets it all from grants. And she said, I need to be able to go in and pitch to a boardroom. And then she said, when I have charity dinners, they all want me to get up and speak, and I don't know what to say. So I worked with her for 12 months. It was a real full-on mentoring package, that one. And to see her now, when I go to some of her lunches and she gets up and she speaks and she's getting the grants that she needs, I am so humbled that I was able to give her something to help her on her journey.
Can I ask you, how do you define, like, I know like you sometimes use the words like confident communicator. How do you define confident communicator when it comes to like leadership and business?
Right. Okay. Well, again, when you're a confident communicator, it means that you have that confidence. Go back to my believing in myself, that confidence to be able to say, I need to speak to a team. I need to be able to go into an interview and get a job. Because believe me, people, interviews are just impromptu speaking, one question after another. And if you can be a confident communicator when you go into that interview, you are going to be standing a little bit higher, because nowadays what you do, your qualifications and your expertise, and a lot of people are the same thing. So what is going to get you that job? The interview. What's the interview? It's a series of impromptu speaking. If you're a confident communicator, you know how to answer impromptu questions. You know how to structure your answer. You know how to be able to say, well, this is what I do, and can think about it and get that point across. Your interview is going to stand out just that much better. You have that much better chance of getting it. When you're in business in an organization, if you need to go into a meeting and you've got to pitch for your team, or you've got to talk about a project, you need to be a confident communicator. If you're working with a team, you need to be a confident communicator to be able to communicate and bring everybody in the team together to follow your mission and your vision. And confident communication is knowing how to get that message across concisely, coherently, competently. It's knowing how to give instructions clearly. It's knowing how to give feedback clearly. These are all things that leaders in one form or another, because at some stage in your life you'll have been a leader. You may not think so, but leaders aren't necessarily leaders of countries or leaders of big organization. You're leading a team. You're leading a group of people. That's being a leader. And if you want to be a leader, you need to be able to clearly get your values and mission across to the team or to the group that you're leading, so that you all go from one place to the other and you get there together. You need to be able to sell that passion. Why should they follow you? Why should they work with you to get to this? And that's being able to communicate clearly that values, the mission, what's required. And part of being a confident communicator is being able to give feedback. And that's one of the things that I teach people. I work with them to be able to give good, supportive, creative feedback to your people that you work with. If you're in a business person, you need to be able to give feedback to your staff. You want them to come where you are. So you clearly do the vision, but when you need to also be able to give feedback when they come in. And there is an absolutely perfect way of giving feedback that is supportive. But not many people know how to do that. So when they give feedback to their staff, they usually start off with something that's completely negative and turn that person straight off. But if you can give feedback in a constructive, supportive way, they will come on board with what you're doing and be able to get into that mission and buy in it for what's for them. So miscommunication is probably one of the top 3 things, top 2 actually, maybe even the top 1. When you talk to organizations, teams, businesses, what's the biggest problem? And they'll tell you it's miscommunication. Miscommunication causes loss of credibility for your business, loss of productivity, loss of time, loss of money. If you can't get your communication right as a confident communicator, all of those things are going to affect your business, your organization, your team, wherever you are. So working on being a confident communicator, no one can afford all that loss. I mean, loss of productivity, going back and repeating instructions. You're losing time, money, productivity. If your people aren't communicating clearly and you aren't communicating the message to them that they have to communicate, then you're losing credibility. If you can't, as a sole business owner, can clearly be able to and confidently communicate what your business is about, what your expectations are for people, you're going to lose credibility. Credibility is so hard to, it takes a long time sometimes to build up. It disappears like that. And miscommunicating can make that disappear. And then you've got to work twice as hard to get it back. So being a confident communicator encompasses all of those things. And I think it's something that we all should be learning.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Communications, and I learned that the hard way as being both introvert and shy for many years, that importance of communications. And I saw that with my absence of having those skills, it didn't propel me as forward as I would have liked to in my career.
No.
I had opportunities, you say, because I didn't speak up or I didn't know how to give a speech in front of a group. That if I had those skills, that I probably would have been better off. I could, of course, I could always say I should have, could have, would have, but definitely I agree with you that communication skills are extremely important.
Oh, it's the foundation. Speaking and communication, I believe, is the foundation of everything we do. You can get your good speaking and communication skills. There really isn't anywhere that you can't go, because you'll know how to get your message across. You know how to get that job that you want, to get those grants you want, to get the pitch, to get the support, to get the sponsorships. It just takes you and gives you that foundation. Are you going to do it every time? Probably not. Are you going to make mistakes? Absolutely. But if you get the basics in and you look at your mistakes, as far as I'm concerned, everybody should be looking at the challenges that happened, the mistakes, the things that didn't work, because they're your lessons in life that allow you to grow. If you're perfect all the time, you're not going to grow. Sorry. But if you think you're perfect all the time, you're going to stagnate, because there's no challenge for you to look for something new, another way of doing it. And that's what life is about. The challenges that allow you to keep moving forward on your life journey.
So you mentioned before, like, you've authored and contributed to many books. What finally helped you break through, like, your initial writing blocks?
Right. Well, when I first started my business, I said a business partner and I, we produced a book, which was our book of blogs, very quickly, because credibility, that was something we were told. So we did that. Then I wrote about 2 years after, I wrote my Creating Confident Communicators, because I needed a book of my own, and that was very easy one to write because it's one I'm passionate about. Then I didn't write anything for many more years, because I thought I have ticked that author, because people having author in your name, rightly or wrongly, the perception out there is that you are an expert in what you do because you've taken the time to write a book. It adds to your credibility. Absolutely. If someone is going to work with a client or wants a podcast guest, and there's someone who is here and they've got all these things, but there's someone who's also got author after their name, the author one is going to just inch in. It can be the one thing that will make the difference, because people think, and I agree with them in a way, that if you've got a book, you've taken the time to share the courage, the time to share your information and your expertise out there. You've put yourself on the line, and it makes a difference. So I had I thought I'd done all that. I ticked those 2 books and I thought, I'm fine. And I didn't really think I was an author. I put author and I said, yes, I'm an author. But I thought, I'm just a speaker. And it wasn't until that chapter that I was asked to write for the book in America that I thought, okay, I will do that. And I realized that because one of the things I broke through that barrier was because if I was asking other people to step outside their comfort zone, to move forward in their journey, to say yes to things, I had to walk my talk. And what that taught me, because I realized that people liked it, was that I was a writer. And what broke through that was that for me, writing is just speaking, channeling the words onto paper. When I write, when I speak, when I talk to people, you get me. It's exactly the same in every way. It's just, I don't write in fancy words. I write as a conversation, and that's what it is. I just realized that it was just a conversation. And one of the things I share with people is say, I can't write a book. And I say, well, contributing a chapter to the book makes you an author. You are legitimately an author because that book gets published and you have contributed to that. That's probably one way to start if you're not sure about writing, because a chapter may only be 500 words, it may be 1,000 words, it may be 2,000 words. Depends on the compilation book and what they're asking you for. But it allows you to get out there and be an author, easing your toe in it, because it's not just you. There's usually 15 people, 20 people, and you can all support each other. And it's a comfortable way of getting into that writing. When you write your own book, a lot of people say, I just want to write mine, but I don't know how to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. There's a couple of ways. And one of the things I challenge people is that if you write 500 words a day, 500 words, that's a blog post. It's not very many words. You write 500 words a day for 30 days, that's 15,000 words. That is a normal size, reasonable size book nowadays, because a lot of people don't want to read huge volumes. They want to be able to get their message. So in 30 days, you can be an author. Some days you might write more, some days you might write less. That's one way. There are so many ways of putting your book together. You can go and repurpose, like our blog. If you've been blogging, you've been writing because you've been blogging. Just go and look at your blog. Do what we did in the first book. Take some of your blogs, change the titles, make them chapters, and there's your book. If you've been guests on podcasts, or if you've got your own podcast, just take the transcript of those people that you have interviewed and turn that into a book. The 2 years that I was blog talk radio interviewing, there's about 4 books there waiting for me to get the time to finish them, but they're all what I use is conversations with Trish, because I've taken each of my guests, taken the transcript, and each guest is a chapter. So it's conversations with Trish. But we also did on that blog talk radio, I used to do a frequently asked question. I have 12 months of frequently asked questions. Guess where they're going into a book? Frequently asked questions. I can turn them into chapters very quickly. Today, it's so much easier to write. You can self-publish. You can get smaller publishers. If you're really into some of them, you might go to the bigger publishers. It's harder to get a contract with that. But today, self-publishing or smaller publishers, you can get your book out. So what I did was, when I did that, I started to write a lot more. And as I've said, I've now up to 22 books. Because to me, I found and discovered, and I challenge you, a book is another way of reaching people who may not actually hear you or come to your workshops or walk through your door if you had a bricks and mortar business. A book will get you to more people who may need to hear exactly what you've got to say. So write your book. We all have stories.
What do you think is like a common mistakes for new authors when they're trying to publish or promote their first book?
Well, one of the things that new authors do, because it's like, oh my God, I've got to write this book. So they focus on writing the book, and you can get book mentors. I mean, I can help you as an accountability person, but you can go to book mentors, you can go to book retreats, you can get that book out there. One of the things I will say to you right now, whatever you do, whichever way you go, you get a good editor. You must get a good editor. Do not try and publish your book without having it edited, because there's nothing worse than having this beautiful book and people reopen it and they won't read it because there's mistakes, there's typos, you want a good editor. But what happens then is, once people have got their book, a lot of them will just say, wow, I've done my book. And I have this lovely cartoon that I show people, because what it is I've done my book, I'm sitting there in my room, there's all my books around me. People should be coming to my door. Why aren't they racing in to get my book? Because people don't know that you've written a book. You know, and some people don't even do the book launch. Honestly, people, write a book you've written, do a book launch. Do a book launch in person, do a book launch online. You can do both, one or the other. But that's you shouting out to the world, I've got a book. And from there, you need to talk about your book. This is why I do a presentation called Giving Your Book a Voice, because you need to now get out there and say to people, hey, this is what I've done. You need to stand up and say, this is my book. You need to be able to share it. You go on to podcasts like yours, Daniel, and talk about your book so people can hear and know that you've got a book. You shout it out to the world. You need to do social media. And a lot of people say, oh, that's fine, Trish. You told me to write this book, so I've written this book. Now you want me to go out in social media and share bits of things on social media. And I said, well, you do have a book, don't you? Yes. And I said, well, if you open up your book, you've probably got 365 social media posts in that book. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just take some sentences from your book, put it out there, put a little meme with it, do a picture, take a paragraph from your book, put it out there as a social media post. Do not reinvent the wheel. I talk about repurpose and leveraging. You can leverage your book to help. Social media posts, all there. You don't have to do another new content if you don't want to. You can turn that book into blog posts if you go around that way. You can turn that book into videos, some of which you don't even have to speak. There's a really great program called Lumen 5. You just take a chapter of your book, post it online. It's an online program. Hit a button and it will turn it into a video for you. It has pictures that it puts, it takes out clips, and you can add music to it. About 5 to 10 minutes, you've got a video which you can then share on social media and say, hey, have you seen my book? Is there something in there? And you can share information. Did you know? You want to know more? Here's my book. Go and buy it. You make sure that you market and leverage your book. You don't leave it on the shelves. You don't leave it in the book box, and you don't sit there waiting for people to come to you, because they're not going to come to you if they don't know that you have the best book that they need.
So what do you say to people that that they tell you that they're too shy or too old to make a difference?
I'll take the too old. You're never too old. My mum, she turns 90 in 3 weeks' time. 3 years ago, she published her first book at the age of 87.
Wow.
She'd always wanting to write, and she'd always just been writing little short stories. And she tried to get a couple of them published in magazines, but they didn't want to look at them. So she used to just keep them there. And about 4 years ago, she was saying, oh, I said, Mum, we can publish that book now. We don't have to go to a huge publisher. So let's put your short stories together. So she put her short stories together. She made an anthology, and she published it at 87. Absolutely fantastic. She got a speaking gig out of it. I mean, it got published in the news. I did a news thing out there. We had a book launch. We invited people to come to the book launch, and they asked her to come and speak at it was a memoir, family history people, because she had one of her short stories was a little bit of a memoir about her when she came out from England. So she spoke to them and spoke about writing their memoirs, because, hey, people, you've got memoirs. If everybody says I don't have a story, a lot of people have family history and memoirs that you should be putting down before it's too late. So she wrote that. The following year at 88, she followed it up with a romance novella. And now she's writing a memoir. So it's never too late. I know people who've been collecting poetry that they've written. And then probably 88, and they've got all this poetry sitting in books sometimes, handwritten, or on that. Publish it, because other people need to hear it. So, yeah, you're never too late to do that. What was the other part of that question? Because I got so...
You're shy. Somebody's too shy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember what else I was going to say, but anyway. What was that other question you wanted me to know, Daniel? You said,
if somebody's too shy.
Never too late. And being too shy to write?
Yeah.
Do you know, for people who are too shy, writing is the best thing, because they just put it in the book. Where we have to work with you then is for you to speak about the book. But we do all have stories. And if you don't want to write, I mean, as I said, you can write your book, you can speak into a recorder, you can record it, especially if you're doing memoirs. But there's also ghostwriters. Ghostwriters will sit down and listen to your story, listen to your words, and they'll put it into a book for you in your words. They will write it for you. They don't have anything that appears in the book. The book is yours. You are the author. They don't even appear anywhere unless you want to acknowledge them. You get a good ghostwriter and they will help you get your book out there. There really is no excuse nowadays for you not to get your story. Why should you write your book? Why? Because it's a legacy. I write my books and it sends shivers up my spine to think that maybe in 10, 20 years, people don't throw books out. They'll go up on Amazon, they'll be there in a digital form in some way or other. Or they go and end up in a secondhand bookstore. They're given away. It's very rarely that books get thrown away. So that gives shivers up my spine to think in maybe 10 years, someone will go to Amazon and pick up one of my books, or go walk into a secondhand bookstore and there's one of my books on the shelf, and they pick it up and they read it. Something that they don't even know me. And I wrote like 10 years, maybe even 20 years time. And there's something in there that helps them. That is a legacy. We all should be leaving our legacy, especially those who've got family history stories and memoirs. And my grandmother had so many stories, and we used to sit around the table saying, oh my gosh, she could write this and that. And we never did, and she died suddenly. And we lost all that family history. So my mum's writing her memoirs. She's getting it down. Share your stories because they are a legacy, especially if you've got a business. You went to all the trouble of having a business or devising an app or writing a program or whatever it is that you've got in your business, a message or an advocacy. Don't just keep it to one media. Share it, a legacy. People are going to come and read it for ages and ages.
So what's your next bold step in your journey? Like, do you have any new books or programs coming out?
Okay.
Any particular comfort zone that you're trying to stretch? Because you keep saying that you're breaking out of limitations.
Well, one of the things was, as I said, in February, because of a book I wrote, I ended up at the Oscars Gifting Lounge and that. So that's become really great because I've now turned those into 2 keynote presentations, which I want to get out and talk about. You know, the value of your 40-second introduction, what happens when you say yes. I think those are important. And I'm looking for places where I can share that to inspire other people to say yes, to get their 40 seconds and their introduction working, because you never know what you need. But I have 2 books that I'm working on. One is called Rock Your Speaking, which is for extroverts and introverts. So it's an in-depth book. It's basically A to Z, but it's different parts of that highlighting different parts of a speaking journey. And each chapter has a challenge for an introvert and a challenge for an extrovert. So it's a full-on book. It's about 95% finished, so it'll be coming soon. There's one that I've been working on for a while, and it takes me a bit longer, but it's our son that we lost to suicide. It's Craig, and it's Craig's story. It's a little bit about Craig's journey, his life, what happened and how we've coped with it, and what's happened since then. So it's sort of a journey about I'm sharing, and it's a little bit full on, so it'll be just a bit longer to come out. But that's what, because it's forming the foundation. I want to start a foundation in his name to help people. So that's 2 things that I'm working on. And I'm exploring being able to share as a speaker mentor a couple of high-end joint venture I'm doing with looking at some high-end people who have worked out what they're doing. They know their message, they know their niche. My joint venture partner has been working with them to get that right. And then I'm coming in to talk about crafting how to craft your signature presentation and take that to the world. So that's what I'm looking. Just being able to reach more people.
Wonderful. And if somebody had questions about our today's interview or they're interested in working with you, what are the best ways that they can get in touch with you?
Yes, look, my website is trishspringsteen.com. Very easy. My name.com. I'm on Facebook. Just look for the Purple Lady. You cannot miss me. There's no other called Trish Springsteen with purple. You're going to find me anywhere, and you can then see connections with me. You can DM me. If you would really like to work with me, you can go to Calendly. So it's calendly.com/Trischel, TRISCHEL/conversation. You can book a time with me, or just DM me and book a time. Happy to work with you because that's my passion. If there's anything that you've found out of this that would inspire you to want to step outside your zone and just be who you need to be and share your message, I'd love to be able to help you with that, because I do believe in you until you believe in yourself.
So, Trish, are there any final words you'd like to say to our audience before we end the podcast for today?
Look, just as I've shared with you, I think in the podcast, what we've been discussing, saying yes gives you opportunities that you never know. I got to where I am by saying yes to walk into a room. I got to go over to the Oscars gifting lounge by saying yes to a chapter in a book, which I didn't know where that was going to go. So think about it. When someone comes to you and offers you an opportunity, think about saying yes. And I think it's Sir Richard Branson who says, say yes and then figure out how to do it. Say yes and be confident that no matter what happens from it, you've opened yourself to another step in your journey. And believe in yourself. You are unique. Own your uniqueness. Be the unicorn in your business. Be the unicorn in your world. Have that courage to stand up and say, here I am. Because those people need to find you.
Well, Trish, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with our audience today. I really appreciate it. I mean, you're such an eloquent speaker, and you have, you really are an expert in speaking and giving advice and mentorship. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all this with everybody. I think you're truly a very inspiring person. So I think people that do watch this will be inspired. And just, thank you for being you.
Oh, Daniel, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share some of my stories and experiences with everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.